Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Café con Leche with Maddy. I hope you've been tuning in. If so, this would be episode number 3. I have been doing my personal paranormal experiences for like the last episode and this episode and the next episode. And so appropriate because it is Halloween month. It is fall, and everything scary seems to be uh, what's happening for October. So I thought I'd share my personal experiences with the paranormal for you guys to enjoy. If you didn't listen to my first episode about my paranormal experiences, please go ahead and check it out. I talk about how I believe all the paranormal experiences that my particular family experienced started with my dad. And as my mom had stated, that things started on their wedding night. So, I felt like everything was connected to him. He had paranormal experiences prior to my mom and him getting married. So this is why I believe it comes from his end. Plus, my dad wasn't a really nice guy. And so without getting in too deep about that, I just always felt like something evil was attached to him. And sure enough, we all experienced things in my mom's apartment in New York when we were all living there. It was myself and my 3 siblings, 2 brothers and a sister, and my mom and my dad. And it was crazy. My last experience that I talked about, the thing that I talked about the last time was my first night alone. After my sister had gotten married and left, I was about 9 years old, and I was in the bedroom that was off the hallway. Now, the setup again is apartment door, hallway. Before you leave the hallway to the right, there's a bedroom. Then you walk into the living room. There is the master bedroom off the living room. To your left is the kitchen, and off the kitchen is the bathroom, and then the smaller bedroom. And now, fast forward, I used to be in the hallway bedroom, but when my sister left, my parents thought it made a better sense for me to get the smaller bedroom so that my 2 brothers can get the bigger one in the hallway, because the bedroom that was off of the kitchen was indeed the smaller bedroom. And so at some point I transitioned into that room, which to this day it still freaks me out to sleep in that room whenever I do spend a night at my mom's house. But before we get into the story, if you're not already subscribed, please hit that subscribe button, hit that like, drop me a comment, and hit that notification bell so you can be notified every time I drop some awesome content on my show. And if you're a fan of wrestling, then you should tune into my shows as I go live every Thursday night at 7:15 p.m. Eastern to talk about wrestling, and I bring other podcasters onto my show. Now, Café con Leche is going to be about every topic imaginable to people. We covered conspiracy theories in my very first episode, and we spoke about Are Mermaids Real? Now I'm doing paranormal activities, and we're definitely going to be covering horror stories, horror movies, anime, anything about the universe, and things along those lines. So I hope you tune in, because every Saturday is going to be a brand new conversation. And if you tune in, don't forget to bring your cafe. I am boring, and I only really have 2 coffee flavors that I like to make myself. And I literally make this with the Starbucks cold brew coffee and some milk. And I use liquid cane sugar to sweeten my coffee. And I either top it with a caramel syrup or a mocha syrup. It depends on what flavor I'm feeling for. And right now I'm going with caramel. I tend to go with caramel for the cold coffee and mocha for the hot coffee. And I do add a little bit of whipped cream. when I do my mochas. So get your coffee and get ready for the story. So I was about 13 years old, and at this point, my mom used to take care of my oldest niece and nephew, who were my sister's kids. They had moved next door. So they lived right next door, which was great for me because I got to see my sister and my niece and nephew all the time. But they would go to nursery school, I believe. My thoughts are a little when it comes to where exactly they would be, that my mom would go and pick them up and bring them home in the afternoon. But it's unimportant to the story. I got home from junior high school. It's about 3:30. I went to my bedroom, which is now the small bedroom off the kitchen. So I put my book bag there and I go to the living room, turn on the TV, I put on some cartoons, and I go and get me a bowl of cereal, and I go and I sit down in the living room to watch TV. You cannot see my bedroom from the living room where I was sitting because there was a wall behind that couch, and you would have to go through the wall to get to that bedroom. So I left my door about slightly ajar like this when I went to the living room. I'm sitting here eating my cereal, watching cartoons, and all of a sudden I start hearing the unmistakable sound of springs, like when someone's jumping on a bed. Like that. And I'm just like, what the fuck? At this point, I had already had quite a few experiences that were pretty solidifying to me to convince me it's not in my head for years. And of course, all the other experiences that my siblings had had, and of course, my mother, etc. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, what the fuck is that noise? And I can hear it clearly coming from behind me. I'm like, I'm sitting here. The cereal has been forgotten. The cartoons forgotten. I'm kind of sitting there like that with my ear to the open, way to see if I can hear anything. I start hearing some giggling and I start hearing some laughter. And I'm like, sounds like my niece and nephew. Like, I start to convince myself they were here. Like, I started to say, wait, maybe they were here. I didn't notice them when I dropped my book bag in the bedroom. But regardless of how many things I try to put in my head to convince myself that what I was hearing was not happening, because as far as I was concerned, I was the only person in the apartment at the time. There was nobody else there. It was just me. So somehow, some way, I muster up the strength to get up off the couch. I go to the kitchen. I put the bowl down on the kitchen because I am no longer hungry. And I start to slowly make my way to the door, which is the distance from the table to my bedroom door at the time was only about 5 steps. So not that many steps, but but enough for me to walk super, super slowly because I was terrified. I thought I was going to open the door and whatever I was hearing would stop instantly. I was wrong. I started to slowly open the door, and I don't know what it is with creepy houses and creepy apartments when shit's going on. Everything creaks. Door starts creaking as I'm opening. I'm opening it really slowly, and the beds were, as soon as you open the door, you can see the beds. It's not a big room, but I open the door, and on the top bunk bed, jumping and laughing, were these 2 kids that looked just like my niece and nephew. But the thing was that they were jumping, and it looked like slow motion. And the laughter was in like slow, like you can hear it echo. It just didn't, their eyes didn't look right. Something was wrong. And I'm just like, what am I looking at? I was freaking out. They were just staring at me, jumping on the bed together. Now, these are little kids. These are not older nieces and nephews. I think my niece was 5 and my nephew was 3, maybe something like that. And I'm just sitting there frozen in fear. I'm not in the room because I kind of swung the door open slowly from the kitchen, but I'm frozen in fear because I know these aren't my nieces and nephews. And this is crazy shit. Like, this is not, they're not not human. Like, I knew. And just as I was like having the panic attack and like my anxiety was through the roof, and I was just like, oh my God, this isn't happening. I hear the door to the apartment open and the distinct sound of voices of children. So I take a step back. Mind you, this is still happening in front of me. I kind of like turn my head, turn back, and gone. In the instant that I turned to see who was coming up the hall, like from the hallway from the door, in that instant, the minute I turned, gone, whatever was happening there. And the bed didn't look disheveled. It didn't look like there was anyone jumping on the bed. It was just, and sure enough, my real niece and nephew with my mom walked through the door. And sure enough, I told my mom, I said, look at what happened here. And I just told her. She was like, oh, that's kind of weird. Of course, stoic like nothing. My mom is a G, a complete and total G. I don't know how she deals with it or dealt with it because these things don't happen anymore. But yeah, it was a very, very frightening experience. And then I knew I had to sleep in there that night. And every night after that, so until I was about 18. So yeah, that was super duper creepy and just one of the many things that I personally experienced in my mom's apartment. So if you enjoyed this story, if you liked what you heard, if it freaked you out, or if it didn't, if you believe it or you don't, drop me a message, let me know, drop me a comment. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe because the content on this show is going to be a variety. It's like a variety show of content. It is not boring. It is meant to keep you on your toes. You never know what's coming. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, again, subscribe, like, comment, hit the notification bell. And if you're not following me on Twitter, follow me at Top Rope Squishy. And yeah, my next episode is going to be about probably one of the more creepier experiences that I had. I was about 15 years old at this point. I definitely had trouble sleeping. I didn't sleep well, barely. I think I was topping out at 3 hours a night. I slept a lot on the weekends, like during the day, because imagine, I had to go to school, so you know, I couldn't sleep in the day, but man, I would come to school and it was a relief. I loved school. I loved getting out of the apartment. It was just to this day, you know, things stopped happening after my father had Alzheimer's and dementia and ultimately went to a nursing home. The minute that he was out of the house, like permanently, it just kind of stopped. But even though I don't feel like there's anything left in that apartment, and we still have that apartment, we own that apartment. Well, my mother owns that apartment. It's still creepy, even though I don't feel a presence there anymore because you just cannot erase years and years and years and years of all of that crap happening all the time. But anyhow, I hope you tune in for the next one because it's gonna be freaky. All right, y'all. Till next time, Maddie's out.